Hello, this is the Paint the Town Red podcast. My name is Chance Bowen, and today is Wednesday, August 13th. Today, we have some interesting news that Israel is under fire, media sources say, after investigation has been launched into the amount of lives that have been lost around aid drops. And they're holding the Gazan Humanitarian Foundation, or known as the GHF Foundation, responsible. As of July 31st, over 1,373 Palestinians died, 859 near GHF run sites. Doctors Without Borders, or known as MSF, label these distributions as orchestrated killings, having treated over 1,300 patients with gunshot wounds linked to GHF sites between June 7th and July 24th. UN officials, international NGOs citing breaches of humanitarian principles and demand the dismantling of the GHF and reinstatement of safe, impartial aid systems. I mean, it's not that complicated. We know that Israel wants to take over that land, and there's been multiple reports of them doing evil things. What's interesting to me is that at the beginning of all of this, the left was going on a tirade about like free Palestine, and the right, including myself, was going, here we go. This is the next Black Lives Matter thing, or this is the next, whatever. I'm like, what do you support? A terrorist group, Hamas? And that just shows you how deep the tentacles go into both parties on the left and on the right, and to kind of tear down you thinking about who our actual owners are and who actually runs this country. And that's what they do. They push the parties against each other. I remember earlier this year, Bernie Sanders and AOC came to Bakersfield, and they did like some type of rally to like pretty much tear down the oligarchs or whatever is what they say. Even though AOC is funded by Google and everyone else, but in the crowd there was a quick chant of "Free Palestine" while Bernie Sanders was up, and he had an eerie response to it. It wasn't so much like turn around like "Free Palestine," it was he didn't give too much. He kind of quieted down, let them get it out, and then he continued on with his other stuff that he was preaching. So it's interesting, we know who owns both sides. And the younger generation knows that. And if you follow internet channels like this one, or if you follow other internet channels that are just free speakers that are not being paid by somebody, it's clear to see their message is totally different than our message. Most channels like mine, whether you're on the left or the right, and you don't have any big boys paying you to do the show, your message is centered around who our actual owners are of the nation and talking about that ad nauseum. Sometimes talking about it so much that it gets like there's nothing else to talk about. Whereas and there's always something to talk about with that when it comes to history of it and things like that, but with what's in the news cycle. And then on the other side, they're talking about everything but who owns us. Charlie Kirk, all of them. They're not worried about the real issues of who owns our country and really why the United States is going in a backward direction and why China will pass us. They don't want to talk about it because they've been lied to. They've been paid off and now they're being exposed. It's funny to see. It's funny to see them all getting exposed now. Recently Nick Fuentes went on a tirade with all of them, and he's a smart guy and he's exposing them for what they are, and they're liars. And there's a lot of them on the left as well. I'm sure he'll make it around to them as well. But it's good to see, but it's eye opening for people to finally start turning the corner on it and going, oh yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting that Israel is going to be owning Gaza. In the beginning of the year, or even a year and a half ago, that would have been crazy to say. And now here it is. It's happening. And people like Trump and the Republicans on both sides are going, Israel deserves to defend itself. Nuts. Well, in other news, we have some other stuff coming out. Let's see here. Away from Israel, European leaders supported by Ukrainian President Zelensky are mounting diplomatic pressure to Trump to get him to negotiate with Russia. Putin and Trump are supposed to be meeting on Friday I've heard some say in Russia, and then I've heard some say in Alaska. I don't know if it's getting moved and tossed around. I don't know what's going on, but so we'll keep you guys updated on that. One thing I have to say on that is just there's a guy I follow on Instagram. I should have got his name so I can give him a shout out, but he did a deep dive on how Russia recently just penetrated the front lines of the Ukraine defense system. And they're using drones to kind of mount their offense against Russia and kind of keep them out. Russia is bulldozing that and moving forward, and they have penetrated the front lines. And so now in this negotiation, it's going to be interesting to see what Trump, the master of the art of the deal, what he's going to negotiate with Putin, knowing that, they're going to own Kiev in no time. So why would Putin even negotiate? But, everybody believed our media for so long. When the Ukraine war first started to pop off, I said, no, we don't want to go to Ukraine and spend all our money, and it's going to be corrupt and everything else. And there was already reports of that. And the Republican Party shifted, and Trump started saying things like, we're going to get out of Ukraine in one day. And Biden handled it horribly. And the Republicans said, no, we need to support Ukraine. Putin is Hitler. And fast forward, and then Trump started spewing that out. And the Republican Party changed their mind and said, oh, wait, yeah, actually, we don't want to send our money to Ukraine. And that is corrupt. You're right. Trump's right. And it was okay to say. But before that, it was, how could you not support Ukraine? Are you nuts? Are you nuts for saying that? And then as soon as Trump and Fox News start saying, well, they're spending a lot of our money, and it's not good. They're taking our money and they're just spending it. We need to hold them accountable. And then all of a sudden they switch their mind once Fox News says it, and they go, oh, yeah, we do need to pay attention to where our money goes, actually. Yeah, you're right. You were horrible yesterday, but today I guess you're okay since you're wanting to find the corruption within the system. That's okay. And then you go, well, I'm actually more than that, not even just the corruption, but the whole investment in the war in the first place, I'm pretty much against. And why are we fighting with Russia? Why is the West and Russia splitting? Why is that? And then you go through the history of all the promises we made and didn't keep, and the states between NATO and Russia, and how there's a buffer zone. And we're the ones who pretty much came in and did a lot of things to rush that buffer zone. And you bring up this, and then now you're a traitor. You are a traitor to your own country to even bring these things up. That is nuts. And so now Fox News, since Trump is saying what he's saying, everyone will switch in line and say, yeah, we need to hold Putin accountable. And it's good we're finally sending weapons over there. And that's a good thing. And we're going to end up losing. We'll end up losing another war. We're going to lose another war. And the people who watch Fox News regularly go, well, we didn't lose that war because we never actually were there. We just sent a ton of money over there. Meanwhile, the people in our own country are getting our ass kicked. Are getting our butts kicked by China. They're producing 5 times the amount of engineers as we're producing. And what are we doing? We're funding woke Marvel movies. That's what we're doing. And everyone's talking about, Trump was a big victory, but was it? We're still not stopping anything. I was thinking about this last night. We're not doing anything. Nothing's different. Everything's exactly the same. Okay, yeah, we shut down the border. What about all the people here that are here illegally? Or not even getting them out at a terrible rate? We're not getting people out of this country like what we're supposed to be getting them out of this country at. Nothing's different. We're still supporting Israel. We're still supporting foreign wars. Theon, Truman, all the all the big Wall Street companies. They're getting exactly what they want. Nothing is different. They funded Trump's campaign, and they're getting exactly what they want. And you have Charlie Kirk, and you have the rest of the Republicans going, yay, Trump won. We own the libs. You didn't own anybody. You didn't do anything. We can't afford a home. We're losing big to China. We can't produce any engineers. Manufacturing's not coming back here. We've lost. We're losing. Every single time in history that you have the number one power in the world and the number two power surpasses them, every single time, 100% of the time in history, they go to war. We can't go to war with rainbow flags. We can't do that. We have to invest in the young men of this country and instill masculinity back into this country. Trump is not doing that. Nobody is doing that. Charlie Kirk is not doing that. They talk all day long about, the man's place in the household, and they talk all day about what not, gay people. Okay, hope you vote for Trump, but I'm not against him. I'm a Christian. I can't judge people based on their sins, but it's not good to be gay, right? It's a sin. I believe that. And that's all they're going to say. They're not going to come up with any type of policy. They're not going to come up with any type of anything to benefit, to turn our country around. They're not going to do it. because it's not in their owner's design. It's not in the ones who are paying them to say their stupid political crap. It's not in their owner's design to do so. It's against their narratives, and they're paying them to stop where they are. And that's probably America's biggest enemy right now. It's not the liberal lefties. It's not that. Yeah, those are bad. And that is bad. We can't take people's freedom. Our country was based on freedom. I'm not here arguing that we should stop people from being gay from living or doing anything like that. But they're getting a ton they're getting a ton of incentives to do what they're doing. The court system still favors people of color, gay people, and women. It's systematic. If you go on the street right now and you say the N-word, you go to jail. If I say it, I go to jail because that's a hate crime. Whereas if somebody who's a person of color comes and calls me a cracker, guess what? They don't go to jail. The cops laugh and turn around. That's what happens. Because we live in a country that has no fangs. We live in a country that has no balls. And nothing is going to change. And you're going to see us just get our butts kicked. When is the next Olympics? This is where you could see it right on paper, right? In sport. Sport is like the microcosm of life, right? Like Trump says, or football, you said. Okay. Let's see. When is the next Olympics? 2028? 2028. July 2028. That's the Summer Olympics. I would not be surprised if China surpasses us at the Olympics this year. I will not be surprised. And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You're not going to do a dang thing about it. You're going to sit at home. You're going to sit on Instagram. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to get involved. You're not going to do anything. You're not going to start going to the gym. You're not going to start living you're not going to start doing what you know you need to do. You're not going to do it. You're just going to keep doing what you always do, which is sit on your butt, get on Instagram, watch these stupid reels. You're not going to go to church. You're not going to go to the gym. You're not going to pay attention, and we're just going to keep losing. We're going to see who's the black lady that's bald, has long old fingers. What's her name? She was on that one show. What's that stupid show? Wizard of Oz or something. She's black, and they made the Wizard of Oz, black lady, and what's her name? Ariana Grande. She goes on there, and she's playing Christ in a show. A bald, gay, black lady is playing Christ, and she looks like Satan. This is what they're doing to you. They have their balls. The gay community, the color community, these people, they have their balls, and they're attacking you. And you do nothing about it. Trump's doing nothing about it. Charlie Kirk's not doing nothing about it. You're doing nothing. You're going, well, I'll go back to my ranch. That's what I'll do. I'll just go back to my ranch. And meanwhile, they're kicking your butt. They're kicking our butts. They're beating us everywhere. They're going to school. They're running the school system. They're running America. Women are taking over completely in every facet. They're getting more jobs, more careers. Men are going down. We used to be 40% of the economic wealth, or the economic driver behind this country was manufacturing from men, working class jobs that men did, real jobs, real tangible stuff. Now it's only 17% of the U.S. economy is men doing actual jobs. Everything that we rely on, building stuff, cars, roads, plumbing, electricity, everything real. And now it's only 17%. And you know where the rest of it all is? Pissed and college degrees and college professors and governmental funded bull crap that doesn't even exist. It's in the ether. It's not even real. That's who's beating you. That's who's beating us. In World War II, the guys flying the planes towards the Japanese, going straight down on their head, dropping bombs, welding stuff up with no shoes on a giant freighter, or on a giant attack ship, sending off planes left and right to defeat the Chinese to defend their country. Guess what? They're getting their butts absolutely kicked right now, because this is why they sold out to people who are not Christian, who are not American. And who do you think they're going to fund and benefit? Who do you think our laws are going to represent? The people that are keeping them from getting power? No. They're going to fund LGBTQ, colored people this, colored people that, everything that's not you as a man. That's what they're going to do. And they're already doing it. And then, they'll give us a little Trump here and a little Charlie Kirk there to keep us down and to keep us happy and to keep us satisfied. And you get on Instagram and you like their stuff. You see Trump go, Rosie O'Donnell, and you go, oh, that's so funny. Meanwhile, he gets in there and does nothing. And then people like me come on, call it out. We get online, we say, hey, this is crazy. They're not doing anything. They're not helping men. They're not helping America. They're not helping families. Trump is for abortion. Trump is for gay marriage. He's not even Republican. And I get on here and say that. And then some whoever will be on Instagram, see my face and go, I can't believe he doesn't like Trump. And we're getting our butts kicked. And that's what you're focused on. And it's terrible. And then finally, this is what gets me. We have a younger generation of men who are coming up and they're seeing it. They're going, oh, wow, that is kind of crazy that you're wearing the Star of David to church, pastor. You know, that's kind of crazy. Where is the Star of David? What is that? You know, is that in the Bible? No. You know, well, it's kind of like the nation state of Israel's flag, you know? Remember, we're not supposed to, Israel from the Bible doesn't mean the nation state of Israel, right? Remember that? Zionist Christian, we know that that's bad. We know that that's not good. We've seen the things that they've done with 9/11, with our financial system, the gold standard funding the Nixon administration, funding the Bush administration, and now funding the Trump administration. And we've seen how it's backfired time and time again as they grip more and more power of our nation through the Patriot Act and now through Palantir. And the giant billionaires have nothing in common with you. They do not care about you and your family. They don't care about you owning a home. They don't care about you becoming an engineer. They don't care about the next great American invention that's going to thrust us into the future. They do not care about that. They care about their company's stock prices going up and investing overseas. That's what they care about. They care about investing in China. They care about citing a war between us and Russia. And they care about when it all goes down, they wind up on top. That is what they're all doing right now. They're doing it to you. Walmart, all the big companies, all of them, they're all doing the exact same thing. And they're all moving in this direction. And you're too stuck on some stupid culture war to even see it happening right before your eyes. And until in 2028 in the Olympics, when China barely, maybe they'll surpass us by a lot, maybe it'll be barely anything. You know, maybe we'll get a few good wins in like basketball. And a lot of the Americans here will go, whoa, we did good. Yeah. Not to mention we used to kick everybody's butt, wipe them out completely. And now this year, China's going to surpass us and everyone's just going to go, well, that's the way the world works, I guess. You know, that's just how it happens. You know, that's like the whole thing with like immigration. You sound like, I don't like a bunch of people coming here to our country. And, you know, our country's not going to be a white country by 2045. Isn't that sadden you? All of a sudden, that means that you're a white supremacist. You think white people are better than everybody. No, you just want your country to be the way that it is. And the way that it is majority white with white culture and everything else. And they say, well, that's just the way it is. You know, people throughout history, they mix and mingle and move. I mean, that's just the history of humanity. That's just what happens. It's just what happens. And then when China beats America, they'll say, well, it's just what happens, you know? Sometimes empires are strong and then they have their day in the light and then they fail and then they just crumble into pieces and people die and we go to war and it just happens. You, sir, are gay and weak and that's just it. You're gay and weak and you're stupid. And yeah, you want to keep doing your basic old job of nothing. Working behind a desk doing absolutely nothing, coming home, getting 2 vacations, drinking your life away. You don't go to church, don't go to the gym, don't do nothing. You like some Charlie Kirk thing. Hey, I got you own that purple hair liberal. Real cool. Look at the past regimes in history. Look who they were. They were groups of men who went to school and learned science, learned math, learned education. And guess what? They were sword fighters. They fought with swords. They dueled with weapons. Look at our founding fathers. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He was a wrestler and a fighter. We don't have that in America now. We're weak and stupid. And everybody is just getting on Instagram, liking some dumb crap, some culture war crap that means nothing. And it's sick. It makes me want to get off Instagram. It makes me want to get off all this. Anyway, we went on a tangent for long enough. Nothing in the news. What I was going to talk about today was the 9/11 stuff. There's a theory out there that the 9/11 attacks were staged by working alongside Larry Silverstein, who's Jewish, and the Israeli government. Larry Silverstein purchased the World Trade Center, and then he purchased insurance for the World Trade Center, and the pearl of the policy was terrorist coverage. And through that terrorist coverage, that was 2 months prior to the attacks. 2 months. Larry Silverstein, instead of being in the towers like he was known to be every single morning at 7 a.m. sharp, was on a convenient doctor's appointment, along with a lot of other notable people that work in the Trade Center, World Trade Center. And the towers were hit. And how we know that the towers were hit by evil Muslims was they dropped their passports out before they crashed into the towers. Everything burnt up, their bodies completely to a crisp, every passenger completely to a crisp, all the giant metal beams of part of the building sizzled away to dust. But you know what survived? Their passports. All their passports, so we can have clear identification of who they were. And that's how we know who they are. And then on top of that, we've got a bunch of conspiracy theories, like messages being sent out to warn everybody about the attacks, that the Israeli government knew about it through a bunch of different sources. We've got a guy that was with the, at the time, Vice President Dick Cheney, talking to him about, does the order still stand to not shoot down the plane? This was 5 minutes before it crashed in, and the Vice President said, no, do not shoot down the plane. So we have all of these different sources, and they're kind of conspiratorial and not backed up by 100% evidence, like how the sky is blue, but still, pretty convincing stuff. And then there's evidence that is 100% fact that if you talk about, you will be labeled as a conspiracy theorist, even though these are 100% factual things. Some of those being that Larry Silverstein is Jewish and has heavy ties with the Israeli government. He got paid out a lot of money after the attack. He actually made over $1 billion on this attack. He made $1 billion on this attack. Usually when you purchase a building and it gets destroyed, you don't make money, but he did. And then you have the asbestos that was in the building prior to the attacks, that the reason Silverstein couldn't sell it, it was a bad investment, he found out, is because of all the asbestos inside, and he was looking at ways to creatively get rid of it. And you have all his ties with, like I said, Mossad. The Israeli government. He owns bonds with the Israeli government. He's Jewish himself. Israel is a Jewish state, as you know. So these are all the facts that are tangible that you can see. Another big one is the dancing Israelis. This actually happened. It was a group of people that were caught dancing and celebrating as the towers were crumbling into dust. They happened to be from Israel and a part of the Mossad agency, and they were working for a cover company in America for the Israeli government. They were pretending to be a moving company, but actually it was a cover for Mossad. They were interviewed ad nauseum and given multiple line tests that were inconclusive, by the way. And if you don't know, intelligence agencies are known for being able to negate lie detector tests. When they get caught, they're able to do things with their heart rate to make it to where they can't establish if they're lying or telling the truth. And the experts that have analyzed these lie detector tests determined that that's what they were doing. So these are all the facts that are tangible and on the ground. And despite all of those facts, what gets me is that all these past people in politics, that occurred, that happened. We went to war in Iraq. Yeah, not to mention all of the things that Israel benefited from us going to war in Iraq, us being invested. The Patriot Act, pretty much tearing our Constitution up. The Patriot Act tears our Constitution up. Freedom of speech out the window. The Fourth Amendment out the window. Everything out the window through the Patriot Act. Where are the conservatives? I thought George Bush was a conservative, and he's the one who passed the Patriot Act. I thought Nixon was a conservative, and he's the one that took us from the gold standard. Is this not ringing a bell to anyone? And then you find out, just like Trump, who's their number one campaign donations come from. This is not ringing a bell to anyone. And then you speak out about who owns our country, and it's very easy to see who it is. And you're the crazy one. You're the radical. You can't work with our party no more. You're out of here. Me? For bringing up those things, I'm the crazy one. I'm the one. How can you work in politics? How can you do anything for politics knowing these things? They've taken our country over from within. And now the ones reaping the benefits are all the people that are our adversaries and that are not Christian. And we keep doing it over and over and over. We keep doing it. We keep voting in Trump. We keep voting in these Republicans. We keep voting in a stupid Democrat. And nothing changes. Everything's the same. We still can't afford a house. So the dancing Israelis were obtained by the FBI. They were given lie detector tests. And then they were let out of jail. They were taken out of jail. And the FBI goes, hey, you can't, why are we taking these guys out of jail? What's going on here? George Bush himself called and said to put them on a plane to Israel, back to their home. No disciplining, no consequences for dancing up and down and celebrating, watching the towers and thousands of people die. They've done it they did it in the Titanic. They've taken over our financial system. They've got the Patriot Act through. They now are going through Palantir and doing all this stuff with AI. They're paying a bunch of internet influencers because they see a break between people watching Fox News and stupid media companies and all the people watching internet shows. And now they're funding a bunch of internet shows to close the gap, to keep everybody down and keep everybody quiet, keep their ownership sealed. I don't know what to believe. I don't believe anything. But America, I do know one thing. America will continue to lose. You'll continue to do nothing. You'll just stay on Instagram and we'll just continue to get our butts kicked. And there's nothing you can do about it because nobody's going to stand up and say it. Nobody's going to stick up for our country. Nobody's going to actually get in and do anything about it. They're not going to stand up to the Jews. Trump is not going to stand up to the Jews. It's not going to happen. Get over it. It's done. He's paid off. Just like Nixon, just like Bush. Anyway, that's it for today. In recap, the Jews did 9/11 and they just benefited too much from it. You know, Silverstein got paid out. The Patriot Act got through to be able to pretty much punish us for our freedom of speech, to bring up anything that they do. We went to war in Iraq. It's done and over. They run our country. And there's nothing any of us can do about it besides watch as China slowly takes over and they move their money from our country. They take us, they own our money, and they'll take it to China. And then they pin us and Russia against each other. And then it's over. It's over. Better get right with God. Get right with God because this is what's happening. This is the Paint the Town Red podcast. My name is Chance. Have a wonderful day.